All right, gonna go live in just a few minutes here. Talk about WMA Mount Rushmore tonight and who should be on it and who and why. And the biggest reason, and that to me, I think is the most important thing. It's like not just who should be on it, but why. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit tonight. I think my list is definitely different from the typical list, and we're gonna talk about that. Because I've got good reasons. At least I think they're excellent reasons for why each of the people I'm going to put on deserve to be on there. But got a lot of events, fights to cover, and a lot of news. Looking forward to a good night of discussion tonight. So let's go ahead and get this show going. Turn off that music. All right, welcome back to WMA Now with your host Chuck Stevenson. And welcome to episode number 131 of the WMA Report, our regular show where we go over everything going on in the world of the women's divisions of mixed martial arts, news, fight results, fight previews, rankings, updates. Try to cover it all on this show. I mean, it's a lot to cover, but we do try to cover as much as I can. Before we get started, please take a moment to hit that like button. The more likes the stream gets, the more excuse me, the more the YouTube algorithm takes notice of it and goes, "Hey, people are tuning in. They're paying attention. We gotta get more people noticing this stream." So if you can take it, I'm gonna hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you at any time you decide, you know what, I like this guy's content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. That's the real subscribe button. So tonight we're going to be discussing the women's mixed martial arts Mount Rushmore. I see this topic come up a lot, and it's usually like the same four answers or three or four answers. And I mean, that's their interpretation of how they would do Mount Rushmore. But tonight, I'm going to give mine. Uh, Mine is definitely going to be different than most people's, and I've got my reasons for wanting to do that. So, definitely going to drive some discussion, I think, tonight. Hopefully, we get some people in there tonight to discuss it. But first, let's start where we always start. By the way, if you want to listen to me, also playing on YouTube right now is the Bellator prelims, and Vita Ortega versus Vanessa Porto is happening live right now. It's about a minute into round two. So if you want to go watch that. Put it on mute, listen to me. That'd be great too. Anyway, let's get into the weekend results. So first up, Combate Global had an atomweight main event last week where Ana Palacios defeated Bohem Park via submission due to armbar. 3 minutes, 15 seconds of the first round. This was a fun fight, very fast paced, I should say. Some good striking on the feet. Park knocked Palacios down, followed her to the ground with some ground and pound. Palacios did really well to recover. Eventually was able to latch on an armbar and hyperextended Park's arm before she tapped out. I haven't heard an actual update on the arm yet, but I see on social media that she does still have her arm in a sling. I hope it's nothing like too serious, but we'll have to see. Anyway, nice win there for Ana Palacios. Then on Saturday, we had UFC on ABC3, Ortega versus Rodriguez. This featured 3 ladies bouts. First up, Emily Ducote had a successful UFC debut, defeating Jessica Penny via unanimous decision. Ducote just way out ahead of Penny. Not surprisingly, she was much better on the outside than Penny was. You know, Penny's always been more of a phone booth fighter and just couldn't really get the fight into the phone booth to where she wanted it to be, and had a hard time setting up her takedowns. So she wasn't really able to get anything going. And Ducote was just able to stay on the outside and bust Penny up. Very nice performance there for the now former Invicta strawweight champion, UFC debutante Emily Ducote. Then up at flyweight, Lauren Murphy defeated Miesha Tate via unanimous decision after 3 rounds. Man, gotta be honest, Miesha Tate looked like she was fighting underwater there. Uh, I'm not sure flyweight's for her. I'm just not. I mean, she looked so drained at flyweight at the weigh-ins and just seemed like so slow. Definitely, I don't think flyweight's for her. I gotta be honest. Now, having said that, Murphy posed her game plan, just beat up on Tate. Really took her like face down onto the grindstone, and that's what Murphy does best. She grinds, and so that's what she was able to impose on Miesha Tate and got it done. So good on Lauren Murphy. I think she has a long road ahead of her to get back to title contention, being that this is her first fight since her failed title bid. But we'll see if she gets it done, or we'll see what she does from here, and we'll see also what's next for Miesha Tate. For anyone wondering, watching Bellator live, Vita Ortega just defeated Vanessa Porto via second round submission. Looks like a Darce. It's either a Darce or a guillotine. Oh, interesting. But Vita Ortega getting it done in the second round. Live. Anyway, in the third ladies bout on this card, in the co-main event at strawweight, Amanda Lemos defeated Michelle Watterson via submission due to guillotine choke. Minute 48 seconds of the second round. Nice performance there by Amanda Lemos. This is a good fight overall, I think, for both fighters. Lemos was having a little bit of a hard time doing, closing the distance on Watterson. Watterson, was always on her bicycle in this fight, and definitely made it hard for Lemos. She was really winding up on her shots. Like Lemos tends to wind up on her shots a lot. She was really winding up here. Just had a hard time connecting. Just doing a decent job with her kicks though. And but anyway, Michelle Watterson ducked under a punch in the second round for a takedown. Created a scramble, and Lemos latched on for jumped guard for a guillotine and was able to get the tap. So good for Amanda Lemos. She has now entered the top 10 at UFC strawweight. Then we had Pancrase 328. We had one bout, ladies flyweight, where Nori Date and Aoi Kuriyama ended in a draw. Not the result that either of these ladies wanted. I didn't get a chance to watch this fight. Pancrase puts everything behind a paywall now, and so I haven't been able to watch their last few events. But this is definitely not the result that either lady wanted. Both of them came into this fight with upside down records, and a draw is not going to do anything to help either of them. So didn't necessarily hurt them, but it certainly doesn't help them. Easy E in the chat says, I feel sorry for anyone that thought Miesha Tate would win that fight when she announced she was coming out of retirement. I was like, this could be ugly. I like her, but it's over. Yeah, I mean, she looked good against Marion Renault, but Marion Renault was like in her 40s and also was knew she was done after that fight, and he hasn't really looked good since then. So we'll see. I mean, probably would be better for her to retire. Also, Easy E, I see your other comments in the chat, and I'm going to address them when I get to the discussion topic. Then on Wednesday, we had Invicta FC 48, and I'll tell you what, this was a great overall event. 6 fights, 4 finishes, and a fight of the night, or excuse me, fight of the year contender as well. First up, Autumn Norton defeated Maria Dukic via TKO, minute 2 seconds of the second round in the opening bantamweight bout. These two really went at it. They were seriously trying to hurt each other. Both were bloody. Norton just had the punching power of Norton and the speed and the countering ability of Norton was just too much for Dukic. Knocked her down with some punches and then followed up with the ground and pound to get it done. Very nice job for Autumn Norton. She got a bonus for the finish. Then up at featherweight, Amber Leibrock defeated Morgan Fryer via submission due to rear naked choke. 3 minutes 9 seconds of the first round. Another one, fast finish. Fryer kind of made it obvious what her plan was. She did not want to stand up with the much taller, longer Amber Leibrock. Immediately tried going for a takedown, but ended up not working out for her because Leibrock countered and got Fryer down and latched on that rear naked choke. Got a finish, got a bonus for it too. Actually, all the finishes on this card got bonuses. Then at strawweight, we had a fight of the year contender with Isis Verbeek defeating Melissa Odessa Parker via unanimous decision after 3 rounds. Ooh, this fight had all the action. All the action. Parker came out, Melissa Odessa came out throwing fists, heavy fists. Verbeek was using her kicks a lot, did a lot of good work in the clinch with her knees. And flying knees too. She threw a lot of flying knees. And then in the second round, that came out immediately, caught Melissa off guard with a fly knee, knocked her down. She was hurt. Verbeek pounced for the finish, wasn't able to get it, and the fight just went on, and it was just back and forth, just nonstop action. Fight of the night winner for Invicta. These ladies got a bonus for it, and then this is the fight of the year contender, easily. Then at flyweight, Christina Williams defeated Liana Perosian via submission due to rear naked choke. 3 minutes 16 seconds of the first round. I did not see a submission coming from Christina Williams. Honestly, just did not. Used her range really well, her reach and length to strike with corrosion, knocked her down, followed up, pounced on her, leaped on her back, got the rear naked choke. Just did not see that coming from Christina Williams. Very nice job for her. Then in the co-main event, we had a battle of Brazilian bantamweights. Talita Bernardo defeated Yana Gadelha via submission due to rear naked choke. Minute 39 seconds of the second round. I'll tell you what, Gadelha, she had Bernardo in trouble a little bit in the first round. Was able to get her down and latch on some submissions of her own, and including threatening with a knee bar. But then Bernardo came out in the second round, took Gadelha down, and choked her out, got the tap. Very nice effort there. Nice comeback. And you know what? That was a nice effort for Yana Gadelha, who took this fight on 2 weeks' notice. Then in the main event, Bantamweight Championship, Tanisha Tennant defeated Olga Rubin via split decision after 5 rounds. Not a horrible fight, but certainly not a fun, fast-paced fight by any means. I already said what I wanted to say on my recap of this fight, so I did an after the event recap. If you want to hear more about what I have to say on this fight, I'm going to say it there because I don't want to be too negative. But needless to say, I did not enjoy this fight. Easy E says, so glad to see Invicta producing killers again. Yeah, it was a good event for Invicta. Really good event. Like, not a lot of big name power, but definitely some good fights on this card and fast. Like everything was fast paced. I think we had like 4 fights down in an hour and a half. So it was really good night of fights. Everybody, I'll tell you what, everybody in attendance got their money. That's for sure. That is for this weekend. So that is it for the weekend results. So turn that off. All right, let's get into some news. I'm gonna blast through these here. I don't want to spend too much time because we're already 15 minutes in, and I didn't want to go over too much over an hour. Anyway, first up, PFL London. PFL is going to have their first event outside the U.S. It is scheduled for August 20th in London. They booked a flyweight bout, their first ladies flyweight bout. Dakota Tacheva coming in at 5-0, taking on Hasna Gaber coming in at 4-1. Definitely don't want to miss that one. Dakota Tacheva is definitely a fighter to watch. Then UFC 277 later this month, next weekend in Dallas, the 30th. Is that Dallas? Yeah. Maria Agapova is out due to injury. She is out of her flyweight bout against Jeon Kim. Replacing Jeon Kim is going to be Jocelyn Edwards. I already covered that last time. I guess not. I was really looking forward to that bout. That was going to be fun and exciting. I hope Edwards doesn't come in to fighting Jeon Kim, the way she fought Ramona Pasquale. Because that just sucked the life out of everybody watching, frankly. But hopefully Edwards brings it in this fight. Then UFC has a fight night scheduled for August 13th in San Diego. Yasmin Jauregui was supposed to fight Estela Nunes. Estela Nunes is out, I believe, due to injury. Replacing her is going to be another UFC newcomer, Yasmin Lucindo, coming in at 13-4. I haven't seen Lucinda, but man, she has a lot of finishes on her record, and so does Yasmin Howard. So that should make for some fireworks, hopefully. Then Deep Nagoya Impact goes down. Oh, that's this weekend. The 24th in Nagoya, Sunday. They've added a microweight bout. Yasuko Tamada taking on Reina Kobayashi. Then here's some news. Invicta FC flyweight champ Karina Rodriguez has signed with Bellator with her debut to be announced. So that leaves another vacant championship in Invicta, I believe. Everything but okay. So they have an atomweight champ and a bantamweight champ, but their flyweight and featherweight titles are vacant right now. But congrats to Karina Rodriguez. Hopefully they match her up well. Then Fury FC 67 goes down August 14th in Houston, Texas. You can check it out on UFC Fight Pass. They've added a strawweight bout, Celine Haga taking on Emily Whitmire, UFC veteran Emily Whitmire, and well-traveled Celine Haga. And then the finals for the Ultimate Fighter 30 goes down on a UFC Fight Night scheduled for August 6th. Excuse me. The ladies flyweight final will be between Brogan Sanchez, who was one of my early favorites, and Juliana Miller. That should make for a good one. I honestly stopped watching the show after like 5 or 6 episodes because it just got so boring and repetitive. But the ladies' fights kept delivering, and Sanchez versus Miller should make for a good final. Then Lux Fight League 25 goes on August 12th in Mexico and will be available on UFC Fight Pass. They've added 2 ladies' bouts, a flyweight bout between Ellie Rodriguez and Luisa Cifuentes, and I believe this is a strawweight bout between Yahaira Romo and Hannah Ramos. And then following a successful event on Wednesday, Invicta FC 49 goes down September 28th in a location to be decided. And it's going to be headlined by an atomweight title bout between the champ Jessica Del Boni. She'll be taking on the challenger Jillian DeCourcy. DeCourcy coming in off of a huge knockout win over Lindsey Van Zant, say at the last Invicta, like not just past Wednesday, but the one before that. Huge first round knockout over Lindsey Van Zant for Jillian DeCourcy. And then UFC 280 goes down in October in Abu Dhabi. UFC, I don't know if this fight has been officially made official yet, but UFC is targeting a strawweight bout. Marino Rodriguez taking on Amanda Lemos. Whew, that's going to be some heavy hitters in that one. So that is the news for this week. Got Easy E in the chat saying, really wanted to like the season of Tough, but I just couldn't do it. I think this was the lowest rated season ever. I haven't been paying attention to the ratings, but I mean, it's just, if the show is repetitive and boring, then no one's going to watch it. And I mean, if you use the exact same formula for every episode without breaking it up at all, then it's predictable. I mean, I practically knew what they were going to do in each episode before they did it. That ruins the entire point of reality TV is that it's unpredictable. And if you just try to make it formulaic, then you're ruining your show. Because nobody wants a formulaic reality show. People want the unexpected. They want reality. It's reality TV. You got to make it, seem realistic. You can't just have, they're going to do this, and then they're going to do this. Then we're going to cut to this team training. Then we're going to cut back to the house. Then we're going to talk about this fighter. Then we're going to cut to the other team training. Then we're going to cut back to the house. And then we're going to talk about the other fighter. Then we're going to go to the weigh-ins. Then we're going to go to more fight prep for Team A. Then we're going to do more fight prep for Team B. Then we're going to go to the fight. And every episode literally played out basically like that. And it just made for a terrible show. Anyway, that's it for the news. Let's move into the rankings updates. So these are from like a couple weeks ago for Bellator, but the flyweight was waiting to see what happened between Porto and Bennett. Well, or no, Porto and Ortega. So Ortega came in at 5, Porto came in at 7. Well, Ortega beat Porto just a couple minutes ago via second round submission. So these rankings are going to remain unchanged. Then we move on to the UFC rankings, and we had some changes here. Fioro and Araujo changed places for some reason. I don't know why. Big moves here in strawweight, though. Waterson Gomez was at number 10. She moves down to number 11 off of a loss. Here's the thing, though. Amanda Lemos was at number 11. She gets to move up 3 spots. She's now tied at number 8 with Nina Nunes. And Amanda Hebos moves down 1 spot to number 9, number 10. So 8 and 9 are basically tied right now between Lemos and Nunes. And Tisha Torres moves up 1 spot to number 7. So good for Tisha Torres. I wouldn't have moved up Lemos 3 spots. But UFC obviously is making a big push for her. I mean, they know she's 35. They know they've got to do something with her now. So if they can use her, they're going to push her. That's what the UFC does. Then at bantamweight, Isha Tate loses at flyweight and ends up moving down 3 spots at bantamweight. So she went from number 10 bantamweight to number 13. Lena Landsberg stayed in the same place. Carol Hosa and Mason Chason moved up 1 spot. So those are your rankings updates. Rarely do they ever truly make sense. That's all I can really say about the rankings updates. Anyway, let's move on into the weekend preview. So first up, This fight, we are supposed to have this at one championship, 159. This fight ended up getting canceled. Leah Bivins versus Bano. Bano missed weight and then withdrew from the bout. Stuff happens. I don't know. There was bit of a scuffle between the two of them at the weigh-ins that we're going to discuss in a little bit later. But apparently Bano, like she came into the initial weigh-ins like 3 pounds over. Which is funny because Leah Bivins is the way bigger fighter. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, she missed weight and then backed out of the fight. So I don't know. I wasn't looking for this fight anyway. Goofy fight. Then next up, this fight also just went down as I went live. Vita Ortega ended up defeating Vanessa Porto via second round submission for Bellator. What is that? 283. So this fight already went down too. But nice submission win there for Vita Ortega. I'll tell you what. I think Porto, she's in the latter stages of her 30s. She is what, 30? Porto's 38 years old. I think she got to Bellator a little bit too late. Like she was doing really well in Invicta, was on like a 4-fight win streak. Was the champ. Did really well there. Won most of her fights overall, and just came to Bellator, and she's like 1-2 now in Bellator. I think she got there too late in her career to really be effective. All right, so later tonight, we've had Combate Global, what was supposed to be an atomweight bout between Gloria Bravo and Katie Saul. Bravo ended up missing weight. She weighed in at like 109. So I don't know if they moved this to a catch weight. I don't know if she got more, if Saul got more money. I don't know what happened. They just, all Combate does is release the weigh-in results. Uh, should be a good one. Gloria Bravo is currently the number 2 ranked atomweight in Combate Global. Katie Saul making her Combate debut. So Bravo coming in at 6-5. Saul coming in at 4-5. Now, Bravo has won her last 2 fights. Hasn't fought since 10 months ago though. She defeated Orlando Galindo via decision. Katie Saul coming in off a way win over Tamika Jones via armbar submission 6 months ago in Invicta. So after a stint in Invicta, Saul fights in Combate. Saul is the younger fighter, 34 to 36 years old for Bravo. Bravo is 1 inch taller, 5 feet 5 inches, 165 centimeters to 5 feet 4 inches, 163 centimeters for Katie Saul. No reach listed for Gloria Bravo. Saul's listed at 63.5 inch, 161 centimeters. Should be a good one. Bravo is definitely a more aggressive fighter. Not exactly the most technical though. Definitely sloppier than Katie Saul is. I'm gonna take Gloria Bravo to win this one. They didn't bring in someone with an upside down record to come in here, an outsider with an upside down record to come in and lose to their number 2 fighter. That's for darn sure. Then early tomorrow morning, we have Road FC 61. This is honestly the fight I've been most looking forward to this weekend. One, because Road FC is finally back after a long hiatus. They've had a really hard time recovering from COVID. But an atomweight bout, Jun Park taking on Yunha Hong. I'm amazed these two haven't fought each other before because each of them has fought pretty much every other atomweight in Korea. They just haven't fought each other yet. And both of them have fought the current Invicta, or excuse me, Road FC Atomweight champ. Park is 1-1 with the current champ Yui Shim. Yuna Hong is 2-0 over the champ, although I think the one bout was an amateur bout, but as a pro, she's 1-0 over the champ. So whoever wins this bout likely gets to face the champ again, probably at the end of the year. Anyway, let's talk about the stats here. Little Wolf, Jung Park, coming in at 7-7-1. Yunha Hong coming in at 4-5. Neither of these ladies have the cleanest of records. Park has been like back and forth her whole career. Yunha Hong started out like 0-4, I think, to start her career, and then finally started turning things around. Now Hong, she hasn't fought in 2.5 years. Last fought defeated Emi Tomomatsu via decision, where she just absolutely boxed Tomomatsu up. I mean, just boxed her up. Park hasn't fought since last, I believe it was September or October, losing to the champ Yuri Shim via split decision in a fight for the vacant title. Park is the younger fighter. She's 25 to 32 years for Hong. Hong is slightly taller, 5 feet 3 inches, 160 centimeters to 5 feet 2 inches, 158 centimeters for Park. Just an interesting one. Park is, she trains at a Sambo gym. She's pretty well rounded, but doesn't really excel anywhere. Hong is a very strong wrestler, very strong grappler, but has really worked on her boxing. Like I said, her fight against Emi Tomomatsu, she just absolutely boxed her up, which I did not expect her to beat Tomomatsu on the feet, and then she did. The long layoff could have really hurt her, though. I mean, 2.5 years. That's brutal. That's a long time to not fight. I think this one's going to end up being a coin toss because they both had ups and downs in their career. But these are two fighters. Like, I followed them their entire careers since each of them turned pro. So, like I said, I'm amazed they never fought each other up until now. They finally are, and it's likely a number one contender bout. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I know I haven't really talked about it much before now, but yeah, this is the fight I'm going to be getting up early to watch tomorrow morning. It's either going to be on YouTube at Road FC or you have to get on Africa TV, which is AFREECA TV. And if you're in the US, you're probably going to need a VPN to watch it, unfortunately. Then we have Octagon 34 goes down in Prague. Yep, in Prague, in the Czech Republic. One ladies bout in the bantamweight division. Octagon, just lost like 3 of their top ladies this year. Lucia Pudilova got signed back to the UFC. Teresa Bleda is going to be fighting on a contender series in September. And then Lucia Stabova got pregnant. But so good to see that Octagon is still keeping the ladies' fights going. Cornelia Holm taking on Rosa Gumiena. Connie Future comes in with a record of 4-4. Gumiena coming in at 4-2. Now, Holm has lost her last 3 bouts, most recently fought a little less than a year ago to Lucia Stabova via decision. Gumiena coming off of a win just 3.5 weeks ago. So, her won a TKO via injury. Interesting. Before that, it had been a year since she fought, when she lost the split decision. Let's see. Gumiena is the younger fighter, 32 to 34 for Holm. Nice height difference here in favor of Gumiena. 5 feet 9 inches, 175 centimeters, 5 feet 5 inches, 165 centimeters for Holm. No reach listed on Tapology for Cornelia Holm. Gumiena is listed at 68.5 inches, 174 centimeters. So Gumiena is tall and long for bantamweight. I don't have a pick for this one. I haven't seen enough of Gumiena to really judge her fighting or her style. Holm is on like a 3-fight losing streak Needs to turn it around. But I'm gonna try to check this fight out. So we'll see how it goes. But I do like the fights that Octagon puts on. Then we move to the final event we're going to talk about for this weekend: UFC Fight Night. With Blades versus Aspinall or whatever. It's basically UFC London. We've got two ladies bouts, both of them in the flyweight division. First up, we have Mandy Bohm taking on Victoria Leonardo. The Monster Bohm coming in at 7-1. Fury Leonardo coming in at 8-4. Bohm's coming in off of a loss in her UFC debut to Ariana Lipski via decision 9 months ago. Leonardo hasn't won in the UFC yet. She's 0-2. Lost via TKO to Manon Fiora and then Melissa Gatto last fight 11 months ago. Oh, she broke her arm against Melissa Gatto. So that's why we haven't seen Victoria Leonardo in a while. Both ladies are the same age, 32 years. Looks like Bohm is slightly taller, 5 feet 6 inches, 168 centimeters to 5 feet 5 inches, 165 centimeters for Leonardo. Whew. If these reach numbers are to believe, this is a big difference here in favor of Bohm. 70 inches, 178 centimeters to 64 inches, 163 centimeters for Fury. I'll be honest, we're back to these fight night cards where the fights they're not giving me super interesting fights here. This one to me is a toss up. I'm gonna go with Bohm. I think she's just like one level ahead of Leonardo, not like by a wide margin, but just slightly ahead of Leonardo everywhere. Leonardo just hasn't looked good in the UFC. I mean, I don't, maybe she just wasn't ready for the UFC. Like when Dana White signed her on a contender series, it seems like he didn't actually want to do it, which is weird. But like you could tell, he was only signing her because like they were just signing fighters like crazy at that time for the contender series. That was that was a year and a half ago. So you're talking like late 2020 when they were still dealing with COVID and everything and needing fighters to fill in case of short notice. And yeah, Dana signed her. It seemed very reluctantly. So maybe Leonardo isn't, technically ready for the UFC yet, but we'll see. But I'm going to go with Mandy Bowman with this one. Then we have, I think this fight's going to get a lot of attention. We have Molly McCann taking on Hannah Cole. McCann coming in at 12-4. Goldie coming in at 6-2. Goldie's won her last two bouts over Jian Kim via decision, and then knocked out Lana Carolina and a knockout of the year candidate. Goldie coming in off of her first UFC win 9 months ago over Emily Whitmire via armbar. McCann's 2 years older, 32-30. They're the same height, 5 feet 4 inches, 163 centimeters. McCann is slightly longer, reach 62 inches, 157 centimeters, 61 inches, 155 centimeters. Look, this is a layup fight for McCann. She's English. Fights in London. They're giving her a fighter who's coming in off her only win in the UFC and moving up a division. This is a layup for McCann. That's all this is. This is a gimme fight for McCann. She and Patty Pimblett are real popular right now, mostly Pimblett. But McCann has latched herself onto Pimblett. They're friends, they're mates. So UFC is going to milk that for all they can get. And they're not going to give McCann a tough fight in London. They're just not. So that is it for the weekend preview. Easy E still in the chat says, I'm really liking Alexa Grasso getting a shot at Valentina now. I I think grass is boxing will give her trouble. Not so sure about how she'll fare on the ground. Well, she's got to get past what's her face. She has to get past what's her name now? Now I gotta look. I gotta go back. She's got to get past Viviani Araujo first, because that's who's next up for Alexa Grasso. She gets past Araujo, she might get that title shot. We'll see. So anyway, let's move on into tonight's discussion topic, which is going to be the women's MMA Mount Rushmore. So if you're watching this and you're not from the United States, you don't know what Mount Rushmore is. This is it. It is a mountain in the Black Hills Mountains of South Dakota that features four past U.S. presidents, two early presidents, a later president, and then one from the turn of the 20th century. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. And it's basically these four great presidents. So it's basically used in a lot of discussions for mixed martial arts and women's divisions as well. For well, who would be on a Mount Rushmore of blah blah blah? Because it's like a symbol of greatness and achievement. So that's why it's often brought up in discussions, and it's a beautiful mountain. I've only ever seen it in pictures. I hope to see it in person someday. It's huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge. Like visitors only see it from a distance, so it always looks small. But apparently, it's huge, and they did a really nice job. This was built back in I think the 1930s, 40s. Anyway, a lot of people have done discussions about who would be on an MMA Mount Rushmore or who would be on a WMMA Mount Rushmore. So I'm gonna tonight. I want to give my take on this. A lot of people just basically name four great fighters that they like, that either they think are the best fighters, or that they think, or yeah, either fighters that they think are the best at the current time, or fighters that they just really like. To me, that's not what the symbolism of Mount Rushmore means. Like they put a lot of thought into what presidents were on there, why, and their placement. So for my WMMA Mount Rushmore, my picks, I really thought about this, and for me, it's not so much about who I was going to put on there, but why. Like for me, I had to really justify who I was going to put on. So first up, the first president of the United States was George Washington. Why is he on there? Well, because he's the first. He set the precedent for every president to come after him. He was a general in the American Revolutionary War. He was the commanding general of all the Continental Forces. Years later, when they decided on the national form of government through the U.S. Constitution, he ended up being elected the first president. Served 2 terms, and he could have kept running until he died. He said no. He said 2 terms is enough. Like he basically could have become an American king or an American dictator. And he said no, I don't want to do that. And to this day, he is often considered one of, if not the greatest of U.S. presidents. So, who is my first pick on the WMMA Mount Rushmore? For me, it was easy. I went all the way back to the roots of women's mixed martial arts. Marloes Coenen was my first pick. One of the oldest women's MMA events was the Remix 2000 Women's World Grand Prix. It was a one-night tournament of women that was held in Japan with ladies from all over the world. Open weight tournament. Marloes Coenen came out on top, including getting a flying armbar victory. I think all of her victories that night were by submission. So she set an early standard for women's MMA, and then kept going. She ended up being the Strike Force women's bantamweight champion. You know, when Strike Force was getting big, and even kept going after that. You know, fighting in Invicta afterwards. She never got made it to the UFC. Strike Force got bought out by the UFC, and UFC did not get along with her management over the way the fighters got paid, like the manner of how they would pay them. I'm not going to get into it, but to me, George Washington set the standard, and so in that way, so did Marloes Coenen. So I put Marloes Coenen first because she was a pioneer in the women's divisions and set the standard. So to fill in the spot that George Washington would take, it was an easy pick for me. Marloes Coenen, someone who I don't see in anyone else's WMMA Mount Rushmore either. Mostly because most people don't know the sport like I do. And that's not me being snobby, that's just a statement of fact. So next up we have Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was, I believe, the third or fourth president, but he was one of the architects of the United States, wrote the Declaration of Independence, had a hand in, I believe, either the Constitution or the Federalist Papers, but also greatly expanded the United States with his purchase of what was called the Louisiana Purchase. Bought a huge swath of land, basically the entire Midwestern U.S. was purchased from the French by Thomas Jefferson, greatly expanding the size of the country, and then sent the Lewis and Clark expedition west. And also Jefferson, some would say it was a good thing, some would say it was a bad thing. He greatly expanded the size of the federal government. So for someone who really helped grow the United States, I had to find someone who really helped grow the women's division, someone who was responsible for so much greatness, so much goodness, and so much building of the women's divisions. I actually had to go with a non-fighter for this position. This might be the most controversial pick here. But to take Thomas Jefferson's place, I went with Invicta FC president Shannon Knapp. At a time when the women's divisions, particularly in the West, not so much in Japan, they were still doing all right in Japan at the time, but in the West, after the buyout of Strike Force by the UFC, when no one knew what was going to happen with the ladies, a lot of ladies went to Shannon Knapp and said, "Hey, do you know of anything that can be done about this?" And Shannon Knapp got with a business partner and created Invicta FC, which greatly helped the women's divisions to grow. The Strike Force had the featherweight division, which only had a few people, and then it had the bantamweights. Shannon Knapp expanded it, brought in the atom weights, the straw weights, and the flyweights to Invicta, and helped grow the women's divisions probably more than any other single person anywhere. I mean, period. She did so much. She did, has done, and continues to do so much for women's MMA. Does Shannon Knapp? That I mean, listen, the strawweights are in the UFC right now because of Invicta FC and showing just how great that division is. The flyweights are in the UFC, large, at least partly because of how good the division was doing in Invicta. the first the first strawweight champ in the UFC was the first Invicta champ, Carlos Barza. Rosnama Yunus, Invicta veteran. I mean, there's just so many Invicta veterans in the UFC. Amanda Nunes fought in Invicta. A lot of a lot of female fighters currently in the UFC fought for Invicta, and Invicta puts fighters in just about everywhere. They've sent fighters to Ryzen. They've sent fighters to Korea for Road FC. They've sent fighters just about everywhere. So one thing that Shannon does is when she created Invicta, she said, "I am not going to stop, my fighters from growing their careers." That was important too. So if there's any non-fighter that would deserve a spot on the Mount Rushmore of women's mixed martial arts, it is easily Shannon Yap. Then we move on to a president that came halfway through the 19th century, Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln changed the U.S. in ways that are still being felt today. He was president during the Civil War, freed the slaves, basically put a midpoint for the UFC for the United States, and showed a future direction it was heading. And today, Lincoln is usually number one or two in people's lists of favorite presidents or the best presidents ever. Replacing him would be Ronda Rousey. No single fighter has helped the women's divisions grow like Ronda Rousey. Period. You may not like her. I'm not a particular big fan of her as a person. You may not like her fighting style, which is undeniable what she accomplished in the sport. Okay? You might have negative feelings about her. You might love her. Nobody can deny her effect on this sport. She's the reason women are in the UFC now. So went from, you know, Strikeforce having the ladies to Ronda Rousey came along, and Dana White said, "Oh, it was Ronda Rousey that made Dana White, president of the UFC, go, oh, maybe the women do have something to offer," and brought them in. And boom, it's now grown to what? Three divisions plus a title in a fourth division that doesn't really exist. And it all started because of Ronda Rousey. She absolutely deserves a spot on the Mount Rushmore of women's MMA. I mean, it is undeniable. And she's definitely on most people's list. And it'd be moronic to not have her on. Whatever your opinions on Ronda Rousey, to not have her on the Mount Rushmore of women's mixed martial arts would just be absolutely stupid. There is no denying her greatness as a fighter, and there's no denying the effect that she has had on the sport that is still being felt today. How many years has it been since her retirement? More than five. I think it's been at least 5 years since she retired. So yeah, 5 years. No, 6 years. Almost 6 years since she retired. People are still talking about her like crazy. And I think that, Ronda showed the heights that is there for women to achieve, the potential that is there for women to achieve. And she moved over to WWE, became a WWE superstar. Was in the one of the Fast and Furious movies. I mean, she can't act, but she was in the movie. Ronda's spot is absolutely positively undeniable. So finally, we have the man with the glasses you can barely see. You need to enlarge this here. See, he's got little wire frames on. Theodore Roosevelt. So Theodore Roosevelt was the U.S. president at the time of the change from the 19th century, the late 1900s to the 20th, or late 1800s to the 20th century, the early 1900s. So he was a time of, at the time the U.S. was over a century old or a century and a half old, and the turn of the 20th century was a time of great change around the world. And Roosevelt was a well-liked president, did a lot of great things. He's known as a trust buster, busted up big companies, created the National Parks Service. He was a nature lover. But more importantly, like he represented a look to the future for America. And that's why out of everybody on the mountain, if you go back a few slides, everybody's facing basically one certain direction. Teddy Roosevelt is facing a completely different direction. He's looking forward to the future. That's the symbolism there, is that he's looking forward to the future. So who would I pick that represents the future of the women's MMA division? That shows just what is achievable both as skills as a fighter and popularity wise, and represents both the present and the future, and is what shows what we can look forward to seeing more of in the future. I picked Valentina Shevchenko. That's the best picture I could have used, but it was hard to get in a picture of her looking to the right. Um, Valentina is a great fighter, amazing fighter. There's no denying it. I'm not a fan. I mean, I'm not a particularly big fan of hers, but there is no denying her skills as a fighter. She is a fighter that absolutely can do it all in fights, and I think she just shows like this is what we have to look forward to more of in the future. It's going to be fighters like her that can do it all and look great doing it all. And she's very popular. I mean, she's not like a pay-per-view star, but she has a very big fan base, very vocal. So to me, for someone that's looking, if we're going to show someone that's looking ahead to the future and representing what we have to look forward to, it was Valentina Shevchenko. So that is it for my women's mixed martial arts Mount Rushmore. We've got the pioneer, the President Center in Marloes Kunin. We've got the builder, the great expander in Shannon Knapp. Even though she isn't a fighter, she helped grow the sport or grow the women's divisions like no other. We've got, the midway point right now in Ronda Rousey, person that basically shook the divisions to the core and caused great change and positive change for the women's division in a way that Lincoln did. And then the one representing a look to the future in Valentina Shevchenko. Like I said, my Mount Rushmore is not just going to be a pick of, oh, my four favorite fighters or the four fighters with the best records or who I think are the four best fighters. No, to me, if I was going to do a Mount Rushmore of women's mixed martial arts, it had to be done right. And to me, it had to represent the symbolism of Mount Rushmore. So that's my presentation on. That's who I think belongs on it. But what are your thoughts? We've got some people in the chat. We've got Easy E there, but got a couple of lurkers. Don't forget to hit that like button. Easy E says, I still remember. Oh, we're back. Okay. So yeah, I still remember that as well. And come a long way since then. That's for darn sure. But that's why. But hey, that's why Ronda was on there. So. All right, last thing I want to talk about tonight in the one championship fight that got canceled, Leah Bivins versus Bano, had a little bit of a scuffle at the weigh-in. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about how stupid this is. It's so stupid that fighters are still getting involved in this. Really, I want to get copyright struck, although even though this isn't one championship. Uh, let's watch it here. So, see Bano on the right with her Indian flag, Leah Bivins on the left. Bano missed weight by 3 pounds, but man, Bivins looks big for 115. Bano actually moved down from 125. Anyway, so Bivins puts her fist right in Bano's face. So watch what Bano does. People are saying Bano started this, but now that I'm watching this now again, for like the umpteenth time I'm seeing, Bivins really put her fist up in Bano's face, right above Bano's arm. So watch what Bano does. Pushes Bivins' arm out of the way. Let's watch that again. Here you can see she's pushing it out of the way. Boom. And then boom, big shove. So Bivins puts her fist in Bano's face, basically right up against her, right above her own arm. She's already touching her. Moves it out of the way. Boom, big shove from Bivins. It really doesn't matter who started. Okay, I'm going to say this. It really doesn't matter who started. Keep your hands to yourselves, fighters. If you happen to be a fighter and you happen to watch this, unless it is you are in the cage or the ring and it's time to fight, keep your hands to yourselves. It's not that hard. Don't try to get in a fighter's face. Don't try to provoke reaction out of each other. Okay? When was it? I got to look this up here. We actually had a fight get canceled because a fighter shoved another fighter, and the fighter that got shoved got injured. Last year in April, uh, Jeremy Stevens shoved Drakkar Close at a weigh-in, and Drakkar Close suffered an injury, and we missed out on a fight. Probably was going to be a good fight too. Why? Because fighters can't keep their hands to themselves. Don't touch each other. Honestly, depending on the jurisdiction, what either of them did could be considered assault. Particularly, now, looking at this again closely, some people are saying now some people are saying Bano started this because she pushed Bivens' hand out of the way. But look where Bivens put her hand, right in Bono's face. She was trying to provoke, she was trying to intimidate Bono, Bivens, by putting her hand right up there in her face. Bono moved her hand out of the way. See this again. Watch. Right in the face. Bivens pushes. I'm going to enlarge this a little bit. Bivens pushes it. Ah, Bivins pushes the hand. Bano pushes the hand out of the way. Here we go. Bano's pushing the hand out of the way. So yeah, Bivins puts her hand face right in front of Bano's face. Bano pushes it away with her wrist. Bivins tries to push back. Bano pushes back. Bivins grabs it and shoves Bano. This is stupid. This is stupid behavior. You're professionals. Act like professionals. Now, some people are going, Bano started it. Bano pushed her hand. I don't give a shit who started it. It was stupid behavior from both. At the end of the day, this is stupid behavior from both fighters, on the part of both fighters. You're professionals, act like it. And then other people want to make excuses. Well, this helps sell the fight. This helps sell the fight. Nobody cared about this fight. It was an opening bout on a card that had nobody in the theater, nobody in the arena watching it. Probably won championships like at least, big bouts cards in a while. It really didn't matter. And frankly, the only people that get excited by that are morons. I'm just saying. Like anyone that gets excited, oh, he got in a scuffle with the weight. Come on, who cares? Anyway, let's watch it one more time. You got Bivins with Bano's face. Bivins with her hand in Bano's face. Push back. They try to grab each other, and Bivins pushes Bano. Anyway, the fight didn't happen, so it doesn't matter anyway. But I think it's just stupid behavior on the part of both of these fighters. Didn't matter who started it. It was just, to me, it was stupid behavior. Fighters, keep your hands to yourself until it's time to get in the ring. It's not that hard. You're professionals. You're paid to act as professionals. So act like professionals. It's really not that hard. It's not. You're paid to put your hands on your opponent when you get in the cage. Till then, you're not getting paid to touch them. So don't touch them. If you start fighting outside the cage, you're not getting paid for that. So think about it. Are you getting paid to get into a fight outside the cage? No, you're not. So why are you going to do something you're not getting paid for? You got to think, fighters. You got to think. Anyway, that's all I have for tonight. So it's been a quiet chat. Maybe I know it's been super hot lately, at least where I live. Maybe everyone's just tired and quiet. Really, all I have for tonight. So I'm going to get ready to go. So before I go, please don't forget to hit that like button. Also, I hope tonight is the night that I earn that subscription if I haven't yet. And when you do hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. It'll at least tell you when I go live. Or at least that's how it's supposed to work. In the meantime, thank you for watching WMAC Now, the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.